So what are the phase steps that most businesses should be doing? And this is a checklist for you. And the first one, and I've made a point here by putting number 1, obtain tool capabilities, and then striking it out, because this is actually what most businesses jump the gun on. They're eager to go out and get the tool, and they don't really know what their requirements are and what kind of capabilities they're going to need, but they will buy a tool. And then what usually happens is the tool gets implemented very generically, and the marketing people don't get the business context level data. So what I'm suggesting is, rather than getting the tool first, that first of all you establish ownership within your company of who's going to own web analytics, who's going to own the business level data, and definitely do the work to tie it to the goals of the business as we've discussed before. Set up the visitor success milestone points and create key performance indicators. All of that needs to be done before you ever investigate which analytics tool you're going to use. Then you should obtain the tool capabilities based upon what you intend to do with the tool, and make sure that your users are very well trained. And when I say train users, I don't mean just technical implementation training. We really mean here all users of the system. And the users that are going to be involved in that continuous improvement loop, those are really analyst-type users who are going to need to be people that can look at data, interpret data, pull reports, dig deeper. And actually, in many companies, those types of users don't exist, or they haven't been sufficiently trained. Next, what you want to do, coming right off of that, is realize really where you're at with this. And are your analysts at any kind of capability that they can be useful to the business? Do you have analysts? Are you relying on people who do not have a numbers orientation to look at the data, interpret the data, and make recommendations to the business? So this is a big shortcoming out there. A lot of companies just go, well, I got my tool, I implemented it, we're off and running. And when they look back, they realize they just don't have any analyst capabilities or anyone really in the role of interpreting the data. Next thing is also to begin to use testing disciplines. If you have hypotheses about what something is happening on the website, good or bad, you should form testing disciplines to go deeper and test your hypothesis A and B and see which one is in fact correct. You need to also go back to the very beginning and say, now that we have some data, do we really think the original thinking we had around the segmentation of our market and our visitors is correct, or do we want to review that or enhance that to make it better, because we've now learned more about our visitors, and they actually maybe are coming in slightly different flavors than we thought they were, and we can build some better content, or we can build some better navigation to respond to this new information about who the visitors are. And the last one on this is begin to merge attitudinal data. And the reason why I put this in here is that this is really, in addition to the behavioral data that you pick up out of a web analytics system, which is the answer coming in, what are the ants doing, you don't know how the people feel about the experience. You don't know who they are, why they're there, what they intended to do, and how they felt about it. So this is, what I've done here is actually shown you a picture of something, and I'm saying, do you know what this is? Well, you don't, and you don't know unless I show you the next slide. It was actually all these words standing on their side. And that's kind of how people who look at web analytics data are if they haven't added the missing perspective of attitudinal data. They really only see part of the picture. So then they form conclusions about the visitors and their success, and they're really forming conclusions that are missing really great perspective that maybe would cause them to think about the data entirely differently. So just remember that attitudinal data, which comes from doing intercept surveys where you briefly ask visitors, why are you here? Did you get what you were looking for? How did you feel about it? That kind of data is going to give you another depth of perspective that you really need, as would online focus groups and usability testing, where you have the ability to qualitatively ask visitors about their experience. So what are some of the tools of the trade? And we've mentioned some of these throughout the presentations, but I just want to recap so people can kind of categorize as they hear tool names out in the marketplace, what are used in which situation. So behavioral web analytics is definitely what you get from installing a web analytics platform that you might get from an Omniture or WebTrends, Google Analytics, Core Metrics, Unicanet Insight. If you need to go get attitudinal data, intercept surveys are offered. The tools to do these are offered by companies like iPerceptions and 4C Results. Definitely more people do this, but just a couple of the big names out there. If you want to gather competitive data to add to your data set, you might be able to get that from Hitwise, ComScore, Nielsen Net Ratings. And if you want to begin to look at particular landing pages or forms and optimize them, you're going to want to use tools like Offermatica, which is now owned by Omniture, and Optimost, as these are tools, as there are others in the marketplace, that are going to help you get a different set of data than you're going to get just purely from your behavioral web analytics tool. So another thing I want to mention that I think everybody is kind of aware of that's going on out there is Web 2.0. And Web 2.0 is techniques that people use to engage visitors more deeply and more at a peer-to-peer level. And what will happen as you implement more Web 2.0 functionality on your websites is you're just going to multiply the amount of engagement data. And if you haven't done the work that we've been talking about over the next couple of sessions, you are definitely just going to be awash in a sea of data points, and you won't have any understanding of what those data points mean to your business. So by doing the work that we've been talking about, you can actually take all that data and begin to put it into an organization that your business will understand and be able to respond to and make good business decisions around. So let's wrap this up with what are the key best practices for moving to informed marketing decisions. Orient your measurement approaches to determine how successful the customer or visitor was in their mind. Create a culture, a process, and a framework for placing visitor behaviors into a business value or a financial context. This is the financial valuation that we talked about last time. Gain consensus on business goals for the website investments and what contributions are expected from your website, and set up associated key performance indicators or KPIs. Determine baselines for each KPI over a sufficient period of time, and then create continuous improvement goals against those baselines. Always focus on trends and not individual data points in time. It is not relevant what happened yesterday. It is much more relevant what happened this quarter versus last quarter. Appreciate the value of attitudinal data and use a variety of techniques to go straight to the source. Behavioral data can point the way to a trouble spot, but it can't usually provide the complete answer you need to solve the problem. Appreciate the value of attitudinal data. Enable the analytics tool that you choose, whether it be free or for fee, to report to your business context specifically. They are very powerful tools, but they need a good architect and an analyst to oversee them to actually leverage the investment to get the business results. And my last one is do as much of this as you possibly can before you spend dollars on either fixing your website or bringing visitors to your site, because you don't have any throttle to use to decide where you should spend your money or how it's really working or how am I going to report ROI. So it's very important to do this work first, to set up your measurement framework, orient your business the right way, and then go out and spend the money to continue to improve the website and continue to get good visitors to your site. So thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it back to Sarah, and good luck with all of your work on your websites and on measuring websites. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. That was a very valuable discussion, and we're definitely looking forward to your next presentation. If you have any questions on this series, you can reach Karen with the contact information provided. And be sure to check back soon for the next video presentation on B2B marketing.